Maureen O'Hara says that the John Wayne rumors are true. On August 17, 1920, in Raynila, Maureen O'Hara was born Maureen Fitzsimons, Dublin, Ireland. O'Hara grew up in a home that encouraged creativity, discipline, and ambition. Her dad was a businessman who loved sports, and her mom was a talented contralto singer who saw her daughter's creative talent early on. Maureen learned music and drama from a young age at the Abbey Theatre School and the Anna Mary Burke School of Drama. This rigorous training offered her a classical base that would eventually distinguish her apart from many of her Hollywood peers. As a teenager, she had a startling mix of beauty, confidence, and seriousness of purpose, all of which suggested that she would have a very successful career. O'Hara's career in movies began in Britain, where she was in movies including Kicking the Moon around 1938 and Jamaica 1939. Alfred Hitchcock directed the second one. Hitchcock subsequently said that the movie was bad, but it was very important for O'Hara because it got her noticed in Hollywood. She quickly joined with Rico Radio Pictures, where her fame around the world really took off. She became famous for her part in the 1939 movie The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which starred Charles Lone. Esmeralda O'Hara's performance had a rare emotional depth and moral intensity that captivated both spectators and critics. From this early performance, it was evident that she was not going to play quiet or ornamental characters. She showed both strength and kindness. Maureen O'Hara became known in the 1940s and 1950 seconds as a strong, principled woman who stood her ground in a man's world. She made one of the most famous partnerships in movie history with director John Ford and actor John Wayne. In movies like How Green Was My Valley 1941, Rio Grande 1950, The Quiet Man 1952, and The Wings of Eagles 1957, O'Hara played women who were very devoted and honest with their feelings. People talked about how well she and Wayne got along. It wasn't romantic in the usual sense, but it was based on mutual respect, strength, and similar principles. They changed the way men and women interact on screen by showing interactions based on equality instead of power. The Quiet Man is probably the best thing she's ever done in her career. O'Hara gave a performance as Mary Kate Danaher that was full of life and subtlety. She showed the pride, passion, and sensitivity of an Irish lady who was determined to live life on her own terms. The role really spoke to people, especially in Ireland, where the movie became a cultural touchstone. O'Hara said it was her favorite movie, and it is still the character that people most strongly associate with her legacy. People admired Maureen O'Hara not only for her painting but also for her bravery and strong moral values. When Hollywood studios had almost complete control over performers' life, she fought hard to keep her freedom. She wouldn't put up with abuse or exploitation, and she spoke up about fairness and dignity long before people started talking about them. Her honesty occasionally hurt her career. O'Hara never changed her mind about how much self-respect was more important than fame. Decades later, she would talk openly about the problems she had as a woman in Hollywood, which made people admire her honesty and bravery even more. Maureen O'Hara had a well-deserved comeback in her later years. She made a comeback in the movie Only the Lonely in 1991 and got more notoriety for her work in movies. In 2014, she won an honorary Academy Award, which was a long-overdue recognition of her skill and the effect she had on generations of artists and audiences. O'Hara was weak but proud when she accepted the prize. She showed the dignity that had distinguished her life. Maureen O'Hara's personal life, like many parts of her famous career, was full of passion, strength, and deep emotional struggles. Her journey through love and sorrow was full of dramatic twists and turns that were just like the intense characters she often played on TV. O'Hara got married in 1939, when she was only 19 and had just moved to Hollywood. She may not have been ready for it yet. She married George H. Brown, a film producer she met while shooting on Jamaica. Alfred Hitchcock's dark and atmospheric drama that helped her fiery screen personality become known. The marriage was kept a secret, maybe because she was young and inexperienced and the studio system put a lot of pressure on its young stars. In the end, the marriage was a mistake since they rushed into it and didn't know what they were doing. By 1941, the relationship had fallen apart and the marriage was legally over. O'Hara was wiser but emotionally devastated as she continued to deal with celebrity at a very young age. She married William Houston Price, an American film director, later in 1941. This gave her hope for stability. For a while, it looked like The marriage would provide her happiness at home and help her profession grow. The couple had a daughter named Bronwyn Bridget in 1944. She would become O'Hara's great love and the most important person in her life. Being a mother offered her great happiness and a feeling of purpose that went beyond Hollywood. But behind closed doors, the marriage got worse and worse. Price had a hard time with alcohol, which made their family life very difficult and put a lot of stress on their relationship. Even though she tried to keep the marriage together for the sake of their child, the emotional toll was too much for her to handle. O'Hara and Price broke up in 1951 after years of being unhappy. This was another heartbreaking chapter in her search for true love. O'Hara spent years working on her career and raising her daughter. Later in life, she found what looked to be true bliss. She married Charles F. Blair Jr.B. in 1968. He was an amazing man whose life was full with bravery and adventure. Blair was a respected military officer, a former brigadier general, and the first head pilot for Pan American World Airways. He was also a pioneer in transatlantic flight. O'Hara found a profound friendship with Blair based on respect, admiration, and shared strength. She had been missing out on calm and happiness for a long time, but the marriage gave her those things. After a few years of living together, she decided to stop acting. She chose love and personal happiness over the fame that had defined her for years. Price had a hard time with alcohol, which made their family life very difficult and put a lot of stress on their relationship. Even though she tried to keep the marriage together for the sake of their child, the emotional toll was too much for her to handle. O'Hara and Price broke up in 1951 after years of being unhappy. This was another heartbreaking chapter in her search for true love. O'Hara spent years working on her career and raising her daughter. Later in life, she found what looked to be true bliss. She married Charles F. Blair Jr.B. in 1968. He was an amazing man whose life was full with bravery and adventure. Blair was a respected military officer, a former brigadier general, and the first head pilot for Pan American World Airways. He was also a pioneer in transatlantic flight. O'Hara found a profound friendship with Blair based on respect, admiration, and shared strength. She had been missing out on calm and happiness for a long time, but the marriage gave her those things. After a few years of living together, she decided to stop acting. She chose love and personal happiness over the fame that had defined her for years. Sadly, this time of happiness didn't last long. Charles Blair died in a terrible plane crash in 1978, which broke O'Hara's heart and left her in deep sadness. As if that loss weren't bad enough, the same year delivered another terrible blow. She was told she had uterine cancer. O'Hara went into surgery right away, facing death with the same ferocious tenacity that had defined her life. She endured and finally got better through strength, perseverance, and pure resolve. She became a symbol of endurance in the face of enormous hardship. For years, lovers of Hollywood have talked about the clear chemistry between Maureen O'Hara and John Wayne. They made movie history by appearing in 5 films that are now considered masterpieces, such as Rio Grande and The Quiet Man. Their chemistry on television was so real and so emotionally believable that many couldn't help but wonder whether there was something more going on behind the scenes. For years, O'Hara handled the rumors with grace and humor, but later in life, she eventually decided to be honest about what her relationship with the Duke was like. Maureen O'Hara said that the stories were not just made up. "John and I really loved each other," she said. "It wasn't the kind of love that people nowadays think of right away, but it was strong, lasting, and deeply felt." She said that their bond was based on respect for each other and same principles, which was not common in Hollywood at the time. They were both quite independent, proud of their Irish heritage and strong moral values, and they both prized loyalty above all else. O'Hara made it plain that their relationship was more than just romantic. "They always wanted it to be an affair," she claimed, "but that would have cheapened what we had." She said that timing and circumstance were very important. They met when they were both married to other people a lot of the time, and neither of them wanted to break those promises. She said that John Wayne was a lot of things, but betraying the people he cared about was not one of them. O'Hara said that what made their relationship so special was how strong their feelings were for each other. "I could look into John's eyes and know exactly what he was thinking," she said. We had complete faith in each other both on and off screen. That trust led to performances that felt real and alive, especially in The Quiet Man, when their charming banter and simmering passion caught something real. She remarked we didn't have to act those times. They came naturally since the love was already there. O'Hara also talked about how painful it is to be in a relationship like that. She said there were times when she thought about what could have been, but life doesn't always offer you what you want. It offers you what you need to carry. She chose to be thankful instead of sorry. I was fortunate to have a love that was so pure that it didn't want to own me. Their bond stayed strong over the years. O'Hara said that Wayne was a protective person who was always there for her. John was my rock in Hollywood. She said that when things went wrong, he was the one who called. She stressed that their loyalty never changed, even though their lives went in different directions. In the end, Maureen O'Hara said that the stories were true in some ways, but not in the sense that people thought. Yes, we loved each other, she responded simply. And yes, it was real, but she ended with a thought that showed how proud and clear she was. Some loves should be lived with honor and in peace. That was our thing. O'Hara didn't want to change history when she told her story. She only wanted to make it right. What she said was not a scandalous story, but one of deep connection. Two legends who love and respect each other and have an unwritten knowledge that the best loves aren't usually the ones that end in passion, but the ones that last in remembrance, loyalty, and truth. In the last years of Maureen O'Hara's long and amazing life, her once strong health slowly got worse. This was a quiet and sad change from the fiery energy that had distinguished her on and off the screen. O'Hara was known throughout her career for her strong will, physical power, and undeniable presence. As she got older, she tackled the problems of aging with the same stoicism and dignity that had defined her life, but time and illness always took their toll. For many years, she had to deal with a lot of medical problems, including at least 6 heart attacks. Each one was a serious and possibly deadly catastrophe. The fact that she lived through so many instances showed not just how far modern medicine has come, but also how strong and determined she was to live. O'Hara had heart difficulties and also had short-term memory loss, which can be very upsetting for someone who has had a lot of experiences, creativity, and personal history. For a woman who had remembered a lot of lines, worked on complicated movie sets, and had a life full of travel, friends, and work success, it was really hard to deal with memory loss that happened slowly. But many who were close to her said that even if her memory was getting worse, her core nature stayed the same. She still had her warmth, her keen wit, and her obvious Irish pride. She often told stories about her childhood in Dublin or her golden years in Hollywood with bursts of lucidity and emotion. O'Hara also had type 2 diabetic mellitus, which is a long-term illness that made her health more worse and needed continual monitoring and care. Managing diabetes in older adults is especially hard since it can make heart problems worse and decrease stamina and movement. Even though things were hard, she kept facing each day with quiet bravery. During this time, her family, friends, and caretakers were very important in helping her. They made sure she was always surrounded by love, comfort, and familiarity while her physical strength slowly faded. Maureen O'Hara spent much of her last years out of the public eye, living a quiet life distant from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. Boise, Idaho was where she spent her last days. It was a peaceful and private spot for her. She died peacefully of natural causes on October 24, 2015, at the age of 95. Her death signaled the end of an era. She was one of the last living stars from Hollywood's golden age, a time when actors and actresses helped define the fundamental foundation of American cinema. People from all across the world paid tribute to O'Hara after she died. People recognized her not only for her incredible beauty and brilliance, but also for her strong character, independence, and strong sense of self. Even though she was sick in her later years, her legacy was still huge. Instead, they made the mythology more real by showing the person behind it. A woman who lived life to the fullest, loved sincerely, fought heroically, and left this world with grace. Maureen O'Hara is still alive in her movies, her memoirs, and the lasting impression she had on the hearts of people of all ages.